the potential for rapid fibre on the electricity network as a means to delivering high-speed broadband to all parts of the country, not just those areas covered by commercial operators.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank the Deputy for the question. Question close to my own heart as well. Thanks. The Government's National Broadband Plan aims to deliver a minimum high-speed broadband service of 30 megabit per second to every home and business in Ireland. This state intervention can be delivered over a number of different technology platforms, and in designing an intervention strategy and a procurement process, we must be mindful of complying fully with EU state aid guidelines as regards being technology neutral and not favouring one technology over another. These guidelines do, however, allow for fibre to be deployed as close to the end user as possible. Retail telecommunications providers would then be free to use a variety of technology platforms to reach the final customer. We also need to ensure that any state investment delivers a network that can meet current and anticipated future demand. It must also be capable of ensuring that there is no urban-rural digital divide and that rurally based businesses and residents are not at a disadvantage compared to those in urban areas. The planned intervention has been designed to deal conclusively with the rural connectivity challenge. The comprehensive mapping exercise we completed in late 2014 shows a clear fibre backhaul deficit in many parts of rural Ireland. This will need to be addressed in any intervention. The intention is to design a clear specification around the services we wish to see delivered and then allow the bidders to submit tenders based on their ability to meet these specification requirements.
Deputy Thomas Pringle.
Well, so I can't get away from the fact that this seems to me as if what many parts of rural Ireland are going to be left with is mobile broadband or wireless broadband facilities, where we have, and I have to say, it's probably one of the few good things this government did is actually put in the legislative basis for the electricity network to be able to be used to provide fibre-wrapped broadband right across the country. In terms of the state aid rules, surely it's a case that the government could decide to provide a fibre-wrapped network to every house and connection on the ESB network and then make that available to all the commercial operators to use the way that the Eircom network was unbundled in the past and that as well. That, I believe, would be an option, and it would be an option that would ensure that once and for all the deficit in broadband in this country would be dealt with, and dealt with in a way that gives everybody equal access and gives everybody across the country the ability to benefit to the most from the broadband potential. Because I mean, if you deliver 30 megabits per second to every house in the country, that's at this stage is nearly obsolete, and you need to be looking at 100 megabits per second and even more to be able to deliver an adequate broadband service.
Thank you.
So the only way to do that is by fibre wrapping the electricity network and providing that connectivity, and then you can open it up to the market forces or whatever forces you want to provide the service then to the consumers.
Thank you, Minister.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is about getting it right and getting it right conclusively, and. I mean, the last thing we want to see is, like, the large towns, the over 60 towns that Eircom are going to be targeting, the 50 towns that ESB initially in the first part of their plan, along with Vodafone, are going to be looking at the large urban areas. And then you have the rural areas where you could have somebody, for example, working in Primerica, Letterkenny, but can do their work at home and living in Mallinhead or living in Kellybegs. That aren't able to do the work from home, and that is the critical issue. And what we need to do is, government needs to do, and this is the plan, the National Broadband Plan, is to address the areas where commercial companies are not going in. It's not commercially viable to go into these areas. A potential solution, you had rightly outlined, is to roll fibre around the ESB network. Where the government is constrained because of the EU guidelines and because of state intervention, because in all these rural areas, or the most of these rural areas, we have wireless broadband. So there are competition issues in terms of, can the state come in and compete with another provider. So that's why we have to be very clear in this. We have to be technology neutral. you're right. A potential option is wrapping fibre around the ESB network. The ESB network goes to Ardmore Island, goes to Torrey Island, goes to the most peripheral areas. But also you have the Aircom network. So, which one do you choose? And that's where the process is at the moment. Make sure legally we're sound to finally, conclusively deliver broadband to the rural areas, and that's the challenge.
Deputy Pringle.
We are now joining the Committee of Public Accounts.